Welcome to episode 1. My name is Brad Davis, and I am walking us through some of the reports as we prepare for the International Pentecostal Holiness Church, IPHC, our 30th General Conference. We're meeting in Mobile, Alabama, July the 15th through the 17th. If you're not registered, please go to iphc.org, register so you can be a part of this historic time together. As you prepare for the General Conference, there's a report you need to read. It's in the back part of the bylaws. It's Appendix A. This is a committee report that was our study commission, that was put together by a group of individuals in our church, and they studied our church, and man, that sets the tone for why the bylaws are being presented with some of the changes. So please read that so that you can understand the bylaws. It's really a great information. So start there. And what I'm going to do today is walk through two of our committee reports. One is the Delegate Certification Committee and the Decorum Committee report. These are simple reports, but these just kind of help you understand how General Conference functions. The first committee report is the Delegate Certification Committee report. This is basically telling you how you can become a delegate. You got to register, you got to pay the fee, you got to use the code, all those things, and they certify you as a delegate. And then when you get to General Conference, you have a name badge. And so that's how delegates are put together. Very self-explanatory. The second one is the Decorum Committee. And this is really for those individuals. This video is going to be for those individuals who've never been to General Conference. You're going to walk into this massive room and they're going to start conducting business. And it's going to be a little different than what you've ever experienced before. And so I want to kind of help you a little bit understanding the decorum, why we do what we do, and how business is handled during the business section of General Conference. So this is just to help some of those. Maybe you've come and didn't understand everything that's happened before, but this is just really kind of tutorial about that. And so when we gather to do and go into the business session of General Conference, a few things are going to take place. They're going to establish what they call the bar. The bar is the seats or the seating sections where all the delegates are supposed to be during the business session. They're going to establish time, how long business will last that day, or those sessions of time. They're also going to establish and make sure that every delegate is wearing a badge. We'll have some sort of lanyard, something that we'll wear that identifies us as a delegate of the General Conference. And you have to have that on. Whenever you are in business, in session, if you want to be in the bar, you have to have that badge on. Now, we'll vote two different ways. Sometimes we'll vote by voice, and sometimes we will vote by the electronic device. So, and they'll distinguish those during that time. A couple of things are established at the business session. There's a parliamentarian. That's the person who makes sure we follow the rules. There's a timekeeper to make sure people who are giving speeches, who are giving presentations, they stay within their time frame. There's a chief teller who basically counts the votes so that we have these. Now, most of those counting will take place electronically. We'll be able to see those on the screen. And then also there's the head usher, and all the ushers are going to make sure that delegates have on their badges. And if you leave the room while session's going on, they're going to make sure they take your voting device, because you can't leave your voting device with a friend or a spouse. You have to turn it back into the usher if you leave to go take care of some business. And then when you come back, you have to make sure you get your voting device again. Throughout these reports we're going to be walking through, especially during the business, they'll start probably with these earlier reports like the certification report, decorum report. But everybody gets really excited when we get to the bylaws. That's when things really kind of ramp up. But there's two things I want you to understand about our manual. There's the Constitution side of our manual, and then there's the bylaw side. The Constitution, as I have seen it right now, there are no proposals that have been submitted to change any of our Constitution. Our Constitution about who we are, what we believe, our articles of faith, nothing's been submitted. And if we were going to deal with something of that magnitude, it had to be submitted to the Council of Bishops a few years prior to General Conference, and they would be bringing that to the General Conference during this time. But there's nothing in our Constitution. So if anybody brings something up about theology or what we believe, it'll be shot down and it'll have to be dealt with later. It cannot be dealt with at this General Conference. But the other thing that we'll start doing is dealing with the bylaws. And because the way our bylaws are established, we're going to have to start all the way over in Article 3, that's page 112, because we have to make decisions about our presiding bishop, the structure in that regard before we just start doing elections. So that's probably where we'll begin. And when we begin there's a few things you have to understand in a business session. Everything's going to revolve around the chair. So there's a person, it's going to be a man or a woman, who will be the chair. Currently, I think the beginning part of business, our presiding bishop will be the chair. And so when someone wants to bring something up, they have to say, Mr. Chairman, they have to say what microphone they're on, what conference, and of course their name. And then the chair has to recognize you. You can't just get up to a microphone and just start speaking and start throwing things out there. And so it's very important that we're very cordial to each other, that we're addressing the issue and not the person. Nothing is being said toward the general conference. Everything has to be said to the chairman or the chairwoman, whoever is running the business of the day. And so if you approach the mic, you have to say microphone 6, say your name, maybe what conference you're from or what position you have. And then when the chairman gives you the floor, then you can bring your motion or you can state your case. There are several things that happen during general conference. So we're going to be walking through the manual. So like I say, if we go to page 112, they're going to basically say, let's start at page 112, and there's a line on the left-hand side of the margin that tells you what line we're on, and of course what page number. And so you just kind of follow the book. And if someone wants to bring something up, they'll say, Mr. Chairman, microphone 6. He'll recognize them, and then they can say, I'd like to make a motion. Now, motions is how things start to change in our structure. At the general conference level, we are the most authoritative body, so we can make any decision we want to make here at general conference. Majority rules, of course. And so there's several types of motions. There's motions to adopt. So maybe we read one of these reports that were given, and somebody's got to make an motion. Hey, I motion to adopt the decorum report. I get a second. And then everybody says all in favor, and they say aye, and so that moves on. We also see there's another motion called a motion to amend. So somebody can get up and say, I move or I make a motion to amend the report by, and they'll give their language in that section they're in. It's very important that if you're going to do a motion or if you hear somebody doing a motion, it has to pertain to the section that we're in. So if we're on page 112, the motion has to pertain to page 112. If we're on page 116, the motion has to pertain to that page. You can't just start making motions on sections that we're not at. So make sure that's what the chair, the parliamentarian, they're going to make sure we stay on the document. So that's very important when you're sitting in the room. So you'll see someone make a motion to amend. Maybe they'll say, I make a motion to strike. That means they want to take out wording out of the manual, and they maybe want to add or insert some new wording. There's motions to substitute, which means I'm going to change what it used to say to something different. And so there's many different type of motions, but those are the most common. I make a motion to amend. I make a motion to strike. I make a motion to substitute. Those are the common things that we will see at general conference. And it's all going to pertain to what page we're on during that time. There are other couple things that do come up. Sometimes a person will yell out a point of order or point of clarification. If there is a point of order, it basically means that they're asking the chair to kind of reset the house. Maybe we've gotten off track. Maybe we found ourselves, someone made an amendment, and then someone made an amendment to that amendment, or someone tried to adjust the amendment, and it's kind of gotten confusing. So someone can say point of order, which brings us back to the original motion, and we deal with that motion first. You'll find that you have to deal with the motion. If someone brings a motion and it's seconded, that means they have the right to speak about that. They'll get 3 minutes to talk about their motion. Then the chair will allow someone who wants to argue against it, and they got 3 minutes to talk about it. And then that argument goes back and forth until eventually no one talks about it or someone calls for the question. And when they call for the question, that means they're ready for a vote. And initially the vote will be by yay or nay. We'll vocalize it. If the chair can't determine which one is louder, then we'll do the devices and we'll vote by device. One of the closest votes that happened last year was on term limits. Term limits was adopted and approved last year, but it was done by like 1 or 2 votes. It was really close. We did it by voice initially. Then we went to the voting devices, and it came back, and it was like I said, 1 or 2 votes, and it was just like really tight. So those are moments that happen. But once the vote takes place and it's set, at least for the next 4 years. So again, you have motions to adopt the the report or adopt the section. You'll have motions to amend, motions to strike, motions to add. And of course, if there's things get kind of confusing, there's also a point of order, point of clarity. Let me finish that one. Point of clarity means, hey, Chair, I don't understand what's happening. Can you clarify where we are? So someone can ask for a point of clarification, and the Chair will kind of bring us back into order, bring us back into clarity about what's going on. And at the end of the day, we vote. We make our voices known. And so I think that's one of the most powerful things about going to General Conference. As the General Conference, we have the opportunity to make our voices heard. So again, I encourage you, if you haven't already, to register. You can see how many delegates you can bring from your church if you're a pastor. Come to the General Conference. It's going to be a great time. It's really interesting to see how the business is ran at the General Conference. But remember, we do this stuff with order, with camaraderie. We care for one another. Even if we're on different sides of an issue, we can do that with respect and order for one another. And so thank you so much for checking us out. We're going to continue our series. Please join me for the next episode. It's going to be available on YouTube, and you can also see it on Instagram.